Are you guys enjoying your time at the Cheesecake Factory? Hope so, all right. Hey, my name is Michael, and I want to start off by letting you guys know that I am not a magician, I'm not a musician, I'm not an artist or an acrobat, I don't do tricks and I don't do treats, but hey, don't be so quick to beat your feet. So by now you might be asking yourself, what's this guy here for? Well, we'll share some jokes and a laugh or two, because those things are always fun to do. Maybe we'll look at some thoughts, lofty and sublime. No doubt it will be worth your time. I'd like to ask you guys, how many of you are familiar with the logo for the theater? Right, there's the two masks, the comedy and the tragedy, right? We're familiar with those, we've seen them 100 times, if not more. Now, needless to say, nobody likes tragedy in their life. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna kind of switch on over to comedy, all right? Now, I'd like to let you know that my jokes are very affordable. They're 25 cents each. If you can't afford the full amount, we take a 10-cent down payment and 4 installments of 5 cents each. All right, here's one for you guys. Did you guys hear about the guy that walked into the lawyer's office?
No.
And he says to the lawyer, hey, how much do you charge? And the lawyer said, I charge $100 to answer 3 questions. And the guy said, well, that's pretty expensive, isn't it? The lawyer said, yeah, it is. What's your 3rd question? How about this one here? There's an atheist and he's getting chased by a bear. And that bear, bit by bit, is getting closer and closer. And he decides, hey, maybe I better pray. So he calls out to God. He said, God, save me. So the clouds open up. The music starts playing. God comes down and says, what can I do to help you? And the atheist says, well, never mind, I don't believe in you. So God goes up, cloud closes, music stops playing, and the bear starts to gain on him a little bit more. Finally, the bear's on top of him. And so he decides he's going to pray again. And he says, God, help me. The sky opens up, God comes down, music's playing. He says, what can I do to help you? And the guy says, well, I still don't believe, but maybe you can make the bear believe. And he says, all right. He does it. He goes back up. The bear says, dear God, thank you for the food I'm about to eat. All right, hey, you know, we all enjoy a good laugh, but inevitably, we must consider the reality of tragedy in our life. Tragedy that really is no laughing matter. If I could steal the title from Al Gore, we could call it an inconvenient truth. What is that truth? Well, let me share with you a story to illustrate. This is a story that happened to me back in '98 when my wife and I lived in Dallas. My wife had gotten a hold of some food in which she had an anaphylactic shock reaction. We were in the bathroom and she's just basically getting rid of everything that was inside of her. And I had left out of the bathroom and I heard a strange noise. And I run back in and my wife was spread out half in the bathtub and her eyes were rolled back in her head and her face was all pasty gray. And I thought my wife had died right there. I was so scared, I'm dialing 911. Thankfully, my wife got better. She came to. But the ambulance came and picked up my wife. And while we're at the hospital, this was back in the day of pay phones and pay booths. Some of you guys might remember those things. I'm on the phone and I'm talking to my mom and dad and I'm telling them that everything is okay, but that we were at the hospital. While I'm in the payphone, right outside of there, a doctor is telling this lady that her husband was killed in a car accident on the way to work that day. Now, that contrast to me really stuck out because I thought my wife had died, but she was alive. I had my wife back. But this woman here was not getting her husband back. And all I could think about was how it was probably the bye honey, I love you, I'll see you when I get back home. And that was it. Or God forbid, maybe they got in a fight and that was the last thing that they had shared with each other. I'd like to share with you, we got comedy here. So what is this tragedy we talked about? We kind of talked about it a little bit. How many of you guys are familiar with the Game of Thrones? Game of Thrones is a series on HBO. Now, I'm looking at this poster here. This thing here really stuck out to me. You'll notice right across the top of this poster for Game of Thrones here, look, it says, all men must die. We know that to be true. There's another quote that I'd like to share with you, and it goes like this. It says, "Is it appointed once for a man to die, but after this the judgment?" Now the first part of that quote is a scientific fact. We know that's true. We know that death is the direction that we all go. But the second part of that quote can neither be proved nor disproved by science. It moves into the realm of faith, this idea of being judged. There's another statement that deals with death that I'd like to share with you. And it says, "It is the end of all people, but the living should take it to heart." In other words, we should consider the reality of the direction that all of our lives are going and order our lives accordingly. You know, matter of fact, our awareness of the inevitability of our end is one of the things that makes humans unique in this world. National Geographic recently ran an article. Their main article in that edition was about death and how people all around the world handle death. So I'd like you guys to take the time to consider. There's one more quote I'd like to share with you. This quote here comes to us from Jesus 2,000 years ago. And what he says is, "What does it profit a man if he gains the whole world but loses his soul?" You know, we spend all of our time chasing after these things that the world has to offer. I've heard it described as like ropes of sand. Once we finally get it, it's gone. And when it comes down to it, it doesn't matter anyways. And so I'd like to encourage you guys, what is the path that you are on? Take the time to think about this. Like that verse says, the living know that they shall die and that we should take it to heart. So I encourage you guys, take it to heart. I've got here with me today some little things I'd like to hand out that just kind of talk about that a little bit. I'd like to encourage you guys to take it home, and when you got a few quiet moments, just open it up and read it and take it to heart. Hey, God bless you guys. I hope you have fun with the rest of your evening. God bless you.
Lord, forgive us when we get consumed by the things of this world that fight for our love and our passion. As our eyes are open wide and on you, grant us the privilege of your worldview. And may your kingdom be what wakes us up